Good afternoon. Thank you all for taking the time to come out here. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sarah Davis. I'm the Executive Director of the Seneca County IDA. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to see you all. Just as a matter of business, so we are live streaming this. You will see the microphone up here. I just ask that if you would like to share a comment or ask a question today, if you could come over near the mic and state your name for the record, and then state your comment or question. We will proceed. So I'm going to start off by reading through the notice of public hearing for this project. I do want to be clear that this is pretty much just legalese. This is what goes in the newspaper. So if anybody has questions afterward, I would be happy to answer them. So we will get started. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing pursuant to Article 18A of the New York State General Municipal Law will be held by the Seneca County Industrial Development Agency on the 18th day of January 2023 at 2 p.m. local time at the Town of Romulus Town Offices, 1435 Prospect Street, New York, in connection with the following matters. Whereas Kanagy Solar Farm, LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, for itself or on behalf of an entity to be formed by it or on its behalf, has submitted an application, a copy of which is on file with the agency, requesting the agency's assistance with respect to a certain project consisting of 1. The acquisition of a leasehold interest in certain real property located at 5856 State Route 414, Town of Romulus, Seneca County, New York. 2. The construction on the land of solar modules and supportive racking, inverters, transformers, and associated wiring and other components necessary for the generation of approximately 3 megawatts AC of electricity for interconnection with the existing NYSEG electric grid with the related amenities. And 3. The acquisition and installation by the company in and around the improvements of certain items of equipment and other tangible personal property. The initial owner of the facility will be the company. The agency will acquire a leasehold interest in the facility from the company and lease the facility back to the company. At the end of the lease term, the agency will terminate its leasehold interest. The agency contemplates it will provide financial assistance to the company in the form of exemptions from sales and use taxes, exemptions from mortgage recording taxes, and abatement of property taxes. A representative of the agency will, at the above stated time and place, hear and accept written comments from all persons with views in favor of or opposed to either the proposed financial assistance to the company or the location or nature of the facility. A copy of the application for financial assistance filed by the company with the agency, including an analysis of the costs and benefits of the proposed facility, is available for public inspection at the offices of the agency, 1 DePronio Drive, Waterloo, New York. I also have a copy here as well. All right, with that, I will open it up. Again, please come up to the mic and state your name and question or comment, and be happy to answer you to the best of my ability.
Marty Rotz from the Romulus Central School District. I'm the superintendent there. I did not look up 5856 414 for the remaining property there. Do we have an updated assessment now that the 16 acres has been subdivided out?
I'm not sure about that. I could find out from the town assessor and get back to you.
Thanks. That was my only question.
Guess I'll go. Peter Jennings, Town of Romulus resident. First off, I would like to mention that 2 p.m. in the middle of the afternoon is unacceptable as far as the IDA scheduling this for a public hearing when the majority of the public is still working. Okay? So in the future, this should be a consideration for changing the time that's more appropriate. Second, I'd like to understand why 15 years of a pilot program was selected as opposed to a shorter term, maybe 2 or 3 or 5 year. My understanding is this program does not create jobs in the local area except for year 1. So why is it being extended out beyond maybe 2 years or 3 years. I understand to get a business started, it's a great break for the company, but I find it unacceptable for a 15-year program.
Okay, noted about the public hearing time, so thank you for your input on that. In regards to your question about the duration of the solar pilot, so New York State, and some of you may not be aware of this, New York State has a sort of blanket exemption for renewable energy projects, including wind and solar. And that exemption entitles them to 15 years, 100% exempt on taxes related to added value. Meaning that if a solar project came in, they could receive or expect to pay taxes only on what the current value of the property is for a 15-year duration. The benefit of a pilot in this instance, and what is standard for all of our IDA solar pilots across the county that we have done, is keep that 15-year duration, but now the developers have to pay pilot payments in addition to the base taxes on the property. So they now also pay $4,500 per megawatt. In this case, this project is 3 megawatts, so $4,500 times 3, and then that added value increases each year by 2% through the 15-year duration. So that is how we structure it. I hope that answers your question, but if it doesn't, please feel free to
Yeah,
interject.
it does a bit. I mean, it sounds like you're structured based on what New York State has passed.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah.
We believe that there is more value to this. So it was taking that sort of same model in regards to your local labor. I mean, that is sort of the existential question that people have when it comes to incentivizing renewable energy projects, is they don't create a lot of permanent employment. However, these projects do create a substantial amount of construction or temporary employment, which equates to permanent work around here for families that make their living as construction workers. And in terms of local labor, we do have a local labor requirement for all of our projects, and we actually hire a firm that does compliance monitoring to ensure that they are hiring from within our region, so that we can try to maximize the benefit of that.
That's all I got for right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment or ask a question? No? Okay.
I guess I'll make one more comment.
Sure. Everybody's a little shy.
Peter Jennings again. One of my concerns is that we keep on approving these solar projects, and all of the local share, you know, gets basically the share that they're not paying gets spread out amongst the rest of the residents, correct?
I'm not sure if I'm 100% understanding.
So anything that they don't pay as far as their tax share gets spread out amongst the rest of the tax-paying public. The school has a budget that they're gonna collect from the tax people, and they're gonna expect that no matter how small the pool gets.
So I see what you're saying. It's a common misconception with pilots, so we have to, you know, for the purposes of transparency and for the purposes of dealing with the public, we have to estimate an exemption amount. But the reality is that the projects that we are approving would not happen without the incentive, which means that ultimately it's really value that we're adding to the taxpayer. So currently the town, the school, the county receive a certain amount based on what that property is currently worth. Without a pilot, this project can't feasibly happen with the finances and the way things work out. And so you can then assume that any additional revenue, which as I mentioned is the $4,500 per megawatt payment that escalates every year, that is added revenue for the town, the county, and the school that they can actually then use to lessen the burden of tax rate on everybody else, because the pilot payments do, you know, obviously impact their tax cap calculations, but it's meant to be for the positive for the community. So they're getting added revenue as opposed to losing it.
If that pilot payment is more than what the value of the taxes are, right, on that property.
So, yes. So let me make sure, I'm trying to explain this.
Like
It's
right
very,
now, once you put that project on there, that value of that property could be considerably higher than what the current tax rate is.
yes, so it is assumed that with any project, I mean, people don't come to us for a pilot if their project is not gonna increase the value of the property. The whole point of it is to provide some reliability for a project developer on tax payments so they can make the financing work and get the capital that they need to do their project to the scale at which they're proposing to complete it. We never reduce existing tax payments. All of our pilots are based on the property is already worth, just let's say for ballpark figures, let's say the property is worth $100,000. They would, under no scenario, pay less than whatever the current tax rate is based on $100,000 in value. The pilot and the exemption is always based on additional value. So the school is never losing revenue that it would have already received or expected to receive.
Okay.
I hope that
So you're
is
saying that
clear.
they're gonna keep paying it, and we hope that they're gonna be there longer than 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, these solar projects generally are cited for around 30 years, I think is what their typical lifetime is before they expect to decommission. And that can, you know, that obviously can fluctuate a little bit between projects. And certainly New York State solar energy is one of those things that's newer, so no one really knows beyond that 30-year period if these projects might even have more lifetime than that. But typically that is their expected overall duration. And then the land typically would convert back to farmland use.
And then I guess my other question on a different topic is, the application fee that you collect
Yes.
for the IDA.
Mhm.
How do you apply that and what do you do with it?
So our application fees as well as our agency fees, which are sort of separate but related. An application fee we charge, it's $350 to every company that comes to us with an application for a pilot or other incentives. And then the agency fees are projects that get approved. We collect 1% of the total capital cost. And we are pretty much fully self-funded by those means. So that covers our staff, our operating costs, our legal fees, you know, bills, internet bills, that kind of thing.
So you're using it for self-funding for the agency?
Yes, yes. We are, when we have cases of surplus, so like right now, and obviously we're in Willard, so it's, you know, kind of a timely thing, but right now we are in the process of trying to solicit a company to do a highest and best use study for the redevelopment of the Willard campus. You know, another use like that is an example of something we would spend agency funds on.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Does anyone else have a comment or question?
I guess I could. I'm Bouchard, I live in the hamlet of Willard. I'm on the Town of Romulus Planning Board. And this has been in the works for a while, and I'm wondering what their prior track record is in terms of developing solar panels or solar farms.
This particular company, I would have to double check. This is the first one that we have worked on with them. There are a few other solar developers. Delaware River Solar is one that we've done a few projects with now.
Okay.
I can double check. I'm sure I have the information somewhere, but it's not coming to me off the top of my head. But I would be happy to find out.
The reason I ask is that it's taken a while for this application's been, you know, in front of us in the county for quite a while, and we were basically just needing, information on two areas. And it took a while for that to get cleared up, so I'm just wondering, you know, it seems to me if there was some level of expertise that, they'd have a little bit more foreknowledge about what to do,
Possibly, I mean,
and that's where I'm coming from.
in general, these projects, I think, can take a lot longer than people expect. I mean, this is sort of nothing in terms of timeline compared to like the Trelina project up in Waterloo. That's the big 80 megawatt one that NextEra is developing. I mean, that has been in the works for years because the regulatory process is, you know, so strict going through New York State. But I'd certainly be happy to get more information on the background of the company and share that with you,
Okay,
Tom.
great, thanks.
No problem.
My name is Al Lester. I also serve on the planning board in town of Rhinebeck. I have a couple of questions. Somewhere I've dug up that this company registered to incorporate in October.
Yes, so let me. So what often happens with these solar projects, and this is something that is not, it's not typical, so like if we were talking here like about a manufacturing project, obviously, you know, the name of the company is sort of the name of the company. With solar, oftentimes, what happens is you will have a company that serves as the developer, but what they will do is they will create a separate corporate entity for the actual project. So like I mentioned in response to Tom's question, there's a company, Delaware River Solar, that we've worked with on a few projects. And they are a developer, but the projects that we've worked on had separate names because they sort of create their own entity for each project. And then that project gets financed and funded separately, and I believe that that is a similar case as to what is happening here, which is why the incorporation date would be so recently, because it's specific to this solar development.
Okay. The lifespan normally is about 20 years for solar farms. And then at 20 years, now we have a exposure, you know, you have to expose of these things. And right now, they're not recyclable. So we've got a mountain over here, Cohocton, full of windmills. The blades are not recyclable. Now we've got field after field of solar panels that are not recyclable. So is there a government subsidy for this solar farm?
For recycling or?
For installing?
Not that I'm aware of. You mean a government subsidy to the town as
Well,
compensation?
You know, you see all kinds of signs and people calling you, you wanna put solar on your house and you get these subsidies and so on. Do these big solar farms get subsidies for doing this?
Well, so I mean, that's why they approach us for pilots. That's sort of essentially, you know, what it is. There are some state level programs that they get a small amount of funding through, but it's not quite the same as, like the ones you're referring to, those are advertised for residential, you know, homeowners. There's tax credits available if you want to put some solar panels on your property. It's a little bit separate. New York State has its own formulas.
Your pilot and exemptions for taxes.
It essentially takes the place of like the tax credit that you might get as a homeowner, yes.
Somewhere along the line in their paperwork, it said something they were connected with foreign limited company.
That one I would have to check check on and get back to you.
And this 3 megawatt, that converts to about 3 million watts, that's a lot of juice.
Yeah, yes, I'm making sure I'm doing the math right, sorry. Yes,
It does, so anyway, that power is gonna go to NICEC.
yes, as the utility provider, although these small, so anything that's 5 megawatts or less in the community is referred to as a community solar project. And the intended purpose is for community members to be able to actually buy into that solar project so that, and if you do, the idea is you see reduced energy bills from NICEG. So they work with NICEG because they have to transmit power on the electrical lines, which are all owned by the utility company.
Okay, so,
But locally, you can choose to subscribe, or I don't know if that's the appropriate term or not, but for lack of a better word, you can essentially subscribe to receive power from this or any other solar farm, and then you would see a reduced electric bill.
so basically you're saying I can go to Kanagy or NICEC and say, hey, I wanna get in your program?
Yes,
So that's a benefit that everybody in Romulus could do.
yes.
Well, a similar thing happened, I'm not positive of this information, but there was a solar farm near Canandaigua
Okay,
that got in with NICEC. My daughter and son-in-law live over there, so. And he claims that their kilowatts were reduced down to about 5.5%, or cents per kilowatt. And then the solar farm went belly up,
oh, okay,
and it jumped back to the original NICEC price of 14 or 13 or whatever a kilowatt.
mm-hmm,
There is protections for this company to at least be there for the 15 years they're benefiting the tax deduction.
and certainly if a company, you know, went bankrupt, went out of business, wasn't complying with the nature of their agreement, we have provisions where we can claw back and or stop benefits
Okay.
entirely. So if something like that did happen, certainly, obviously, they would not be receiving a pilot.
Okay, so what you told me was that all the town of Romulus residents could get in with NICEC and receive a break on their electric bill.
Yes, I believe that's usually something you sign up for directly with the specific solar provider to opt into that, because there are many solar providers, but then you see like a combined reduced bill from NICEG.
Okay, so the people that are not here at this meeting know nothing about that particular benefit. So I think it's up to the IDA to make that public information.
Generally, that's the kind of, I mean, I agree the public should be, you know, privy to this information. I would see that, or us advertising something like that is essentially doing marketing for an agency, which is not really something we're in the business of doing. But I would certainly be willing to share that
Well,
feedback
somebody
with the
within
developer
that
and say that they
business
should do, you know, take some steps to reach out and do some
Notify
outreach in the
the
community so
residents
people
that
understand,
that's
yes,
available.
yes.
And I agree with him, if your IDA meeting's at 2 o'clock, there are people still on the clocks. I'm fortunate to be retired, but there's a lot of people that are on the clock, that's a half a day pay to come and see you.
I understand.
And, so I would say, you know, our town meetings and everything are at 6 o'clock. And I think your IDA should adjust their meetings to accommodate the public. It's, you know, it's in the paper, yeah, it's accommodating, but like I said, there are working people.
Understood.
But-
And, you know, we will seriously take that to heart. I would hope that people, if they weren't able to make it and felt strongly, would at least submit a written comment, because we do accept those as well. But certainly in the future, when we are scheduling public hearings, we will try to make sure that it's at a time that is more accessible to the public.
Okay. Scrambled the eggs.
Sarah, the NICEAG program that you talked about isn't just restricted to Romulus residents as a benefit, right? I mean, I'm actually
Correct.
signed up through NICEAG with a community solar program that's in Lansing, even though I live here in Romulus. So to say it's a benefit for Romulus residents because it's located in Romulus, it's not really true. I mean, you can sign up with any community solar program through NICEAG at any time. You know, they're out there, they already exist. Some of them are filled, basically they sign up a household that's using X amount of power. They say that our field we can, sign up 25 houses or something, whatever the equates to. And, they try to keep that as full as possible to utilize everything that they're generating. But they can essentially distribute the community power to anywhere in New York State. And it's an accounting trick. They transfer funds from one account to another. That's what it amounts to. It's not really a benefit to Romulus.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment or ask a question? Okay, well then, I will officially call this public hearing to a close. It is about 2:27 p.m. Thank you all for your attendance and your comments and questions. We really do appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Sarah.